is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 465. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me on the caught myself there on the couch, originally from Oakland, California. It's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, you're sitting right in front of me. Hi.
Yeah, I'm being extra professional by sitting instead of lying down.
Yeah, so the hotel room that we got's big enough so that we have a couch and then the bed's in the other room, so Luis couldn't retreat to the to his normal prone position.
Yeah, I would have preferred the usual, but we also have to accommodate our guest.
That's right, and I thought about that before we came in, and I got him an Arnold Palmer and you a Spindrift because I'm a gracious host. We've got special guest here, Tim Willoughby. Tim, welcome back to the show. For those of you that remember, the last time Tim was on, we did a Crack-a-Draft. You basically took the seat of like multiple players at a table.
Yeah, absolutely. Somehow or other, I had to multitask my way through. You just got to focus on just a single pick. And yeah, we worked our way through. And
so we're going to be doing that again. We've brought Tim, Will, Obi, and a new guy, Richard.
Yeah, that's my middle name. We gave me 4 packs to draft this time. Goodness knows why.
And basically what's going to happen is Luis and I are going to be in one seat, and we're going to do, instead of a regular Crack-a-Pack, we're going to do a Crack-a-Draft where we're going to be sent, 4 more picks further down the line. And we're going to take the cards that we would take and keep you up to date on that, as well as try to figure out what the people that are passing to us are in. And then after that, we're going to get Luis's take from the team Pro Tour testing that you just did. You had your limited meeting. Was it today or?
Yeah, we did about a 4-hour-long limited meeting, and I would say
4 hours.
Yeah, I would say a solid 3 of those hours were useful, and an hour was rabbit holes. But that kind of comes with the territory.
Mm-hmm. And so you've got kind of a summary for what Team Channelfireball came up with for this Pro Tour, a little different than regular ones because we've actually had our hands on the set for longer than normal.
Yeah, it's in a little different spot because this is a little later, but it also is, I think a lot of people weren't, like on the team, weren't drafting as consistently because they knew they had time.
Yeah.
And then they just put a lot of work in the last couple of weeks. And there's a couple different things going on because the format is just, it has evolved to a different point than it is. And you have to kind of take that into account.
Okay, so we're going to get that update a little bit later. First, we've got to thank our sponsor, Channelfireball.com. That's the place to go for everything you need Magic related on the internet. You can find Guilds of Ravnica. We're going to be talking about that a lot over the course of this show. If you want to draft it yourself, you can get a box from Channel Fireball, or you can buy packs or singles or any supplies or anything that you need. You're going to find it there. And of course, I always remind you, right on the front page, free content. Boom, right there. You can watch videos, podcasts, articles from some of the best Magic players in the world. Many of these articles and videos are set up to help you get better as well. So we're talking about instructional type stuff like what we do here on the show. It's really cool to be able to sit on the shoulders of Luis Scott-Vargas, Reed Duke, somebody like that. Ben Stark has some draft videos up, and see not just what they think coming out of their mouth, but what they actually do when they play. And you get a chance to do that on channelfireball.com for free. Also, the show's brought to you by you via the Patreon. That's right. If you want, you can support the show directly. Patreon.com/limited resources is where to do that. And one of the cool benefits that you get, among others, is, we give away a playmat every week. And I've got a sweet one. It's Aurelia. And this is really funny. I was sitting with Tim while I was running the little program that spits out the random name. And the random name this week is somebody that we know. It's Sheila Wysall. And she's from England. And I've met Sheila multiple times. She's an absolutely lovely woman, and I'm a huge fan of her. So thank you so much, Sheila, for the support all this time. We're going to be sending you the Aurelia playmat. She comes from, Tim, you going to help me here? Derbyshire?
Derbyshire.
Derbyshire. Okay. Yes, that's where she's from. And thank you so much, Sheila, for your continued support of the show. It really means a lot to us. And hopefully I'll see you soon at a GP. She actually has flown out to the last few GP Las Vegas's, and she comes out to battle in those from England.
Oh, the biscuits.
Yes, that's her. Yeah, she often brings us these beautiful tins. What's the store that those are from? It's something that's a thing in England?
It's probably from like Fortnum and Mason or something. Like,
I don't know.
Basically, there's like a couple of shops that, like Harrods, Fortnum and Mason, they're like fancy shops that have a little crest they can put on all the stuff that they make that means that they're patronized by the royal family. So they literally have like a royal seal of approval on everything they sell.
Well, I give them
the coverage seal of approval as well.
They do indeed. Yeah. Wash it down with a Spindrift # branding and you're good to go. Should we crack a pack?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so the first thing I want to mention here, by the way, is this Crack-a-Draft, and then if we get to do anything further with this box, was actually made possible by a friend of the show, Neil Rigby, the Big Rig himself. He actually donated this box of guilds to us. All these cards, of course, go out to a patron when we do the giveaway. But I wanted to say thank you, Neil, for being so kind. He just said, hey, I figure you can do something with this. And we can. We're going to end up doing a Crack-a-Draft. You can find Neil, by the way, on his podcast. He's on the Blue Envelope podcast as well. He's been on that for a long time now.
Yeah, that one's been running for, 3-4 years now?
At least.
And
At least.
They still haven't qualified for a Pro Tour?
They're still chasing the envelope.
The blue envelope is, of course, a reference to PTQ winners used to get a blue envelope with an invitation, though. Mm-hmm. That actually hasn't been true in a really long time.
Have you ever gotten one of those?
No.
It was already gone then?
By the time I started PTQing, those didn't exist, at least not in the US.
Well, I mean, in the UK, a lot of TOs kind of just kept it going by they would just put an invitation in a blue envelope to give people that want a PTQ in the UK, at least, even much, much later than the kind of the official thing.
Yeah, over on the blue envelope, you'll get a mix of topics, current events, professional level, following professional Magic coverage type stuff, and also a good dose of nonsense in there. If you're into that. So make sure you check out their podcast, The Blue Envelope, and thank you so much, Big Rig. That was really kind of you, and I know our listeners appreciate it. So the way this is going to work is Luis is going to open up a pack here because he never gets to. I always have the packs at my place. And we're going to go through, Luis, you and I together, and we're going to draft this thing. And then Tim has taken the virtual seats of the people to our left, to our right, who are passing to us. And we're going to go through and figure out how we would actually draft it. So pack one, pick one's easy. We do this every week, but what do we got?
We got a Wild Ceratok, which will not be taken.
No.
We've got a Fearless Halberdier, also not taken. Just two pair of vanillas, 3 mana, 3/2, and a 4 mana, 4/3.
Halberdier, please.
Oh yeah, right. We have Radical Idea, which I do like quite a bit. Izzet.
Mm-hmm. In aggro, Izzet or even control Izzet?
Yeah, both. Mm-hmm. It just combines really well with Electromancer, give you some filtering, and then lets your Piston Fists attack, and there's a bunch of other spells matter stuff. So currently that's what we got, but hopefully we don't end there.
Yeah.
Loxodon Restore. This is the 4 white 3/4 Convoke, enters the battlefield, gain 4. This is the kind of card, it was actually really funny. A direct quote from our limited meeting. Someone's like, yeah, this card's bad, but it's a good sideboard card against Boros. And someone's like, no, it's not. It's just an easy thing to say that, but it's just actually not. And then everyone's like, yeah, you're right. No, this is
It's really bad. Just not, yeah.
So, I mean, I think we also thought, the good sideboard card. It's not. Yeah. Just don't play this card.
It's just not.
Deadly Visit. All right, here we go.
Business.
This is the 3 black. Kill a creature, surveil 2. This is, depending on who you ask, certainly one of the best commons. Where it ranks in accordance with the other commons is up for debate, but easily the pick right now. Dev Card and Dissonant, the 2 mana 2/2 that pumps for 5.
She's a dev.
Yeah, just fine, but not as good as Deadly Visit. Mephitic Vapors, all your opponent's creature, or all creatures get -1/-1. Yeah, so we're not going to be playing that one. Mm-hmm. Hammer Dropper, 4 mana 5/2 Mentor, playable in Boros, but nothing spectacular.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed, I was talking to somebody about Hammer Dropper, and it's remarkable how similar it ends up being to Blade Instructor, in that they often have a similar outcome, which is they get to attack once, trade down, and then get a counter.
Yeah. So, but Blade Instructor is a little more efficient at doing so.
Quite a bit. One color and a mana.
Dimir Locket. We had an interesting discussion about the Lockets. Suffice to say, you will not want to first pick one, but if you have enough good 5-drops, they can be a respectable choice.
Okay.
Undercity Uprising. Not a big fan of this one. This is the 4 mana, all your creatures gain Death Touch, and you fight once.
Pretty bad.
Yep. Crawl Swarm, 5 mana, 4/1 flying, and you can pay 3 mana and discard a creature to get it back from your graveyard.
It's playable.
Playable. On balance, I think worse than Dowser of Lights. It just does not block very well.
Yeah, which is not Dowser of Lights we like more than we thought we would, but it doesn't mean it's good, right?
Yeah. Okay, here we go. True Fire Captain. Red, white.
Business.
4/3 Mentor, and whenever it is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to the enemy player. Where are you at on this one?
So I like many of the 2-drops above it. For example, here's to me to boil this down to one thing.
I just want to know.
Yeah, sorry. To boil this down to one thing is, would I take this or Sky Knight Legionnaire? And I have been leaning closer and closer to Sky Knight Legionnaire away from this, and I think that I would take Sky Knight Legionnaire over it. So that means I'm not actually in love with it. I mean, I'd put it in any Boros deck, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I'd want to first pick it.
All right. Well, I do think the card's first pickable. I would rather take Deadly Visit first. It's a lot easier on the mana. And I think the cards are comparable. I do think True Fire Captain is a little bit better if you know you're going to end up in Boros, but first pick, you don't know that.
Right, and that's a tough sell. Now, if you were to change that into Boros Challenger, for example,
I would take Boros Challenger.
You would have my attention there.
Boros Challenger is the best of actually all the Boros Gold cards.
You were right about that, by the way. We talked about that early in the set, and yeah, that's the one.
Creeping Chill, having a big impact on Modern. This is the one that drains them for 3 when you mill it. Not much.
Or Crippling Chill, as Paula would call it.
Yes. Oh, here we go. Our rare is a Venerated Loxodon. This is the 4 and a white, 4/4 Convoke, and when it enters the battlefield, you put a +1 counter on each creature that convoked it. Windmill slam this thing.
Yeah.
The Venerated Loxodon is ridiculous. I'm going to talk about the Murmuring Mystic bar later in the show. Suffice to say, that's the card that I think it's maybe like 5th or 6th best card in the set. There's not very many cards that go above it. Loxodon is a card that's comparable to it.
Yeah.
So,
which is a big compliment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
it also just won Player of the Year, by the way.
It did. Yeah. Then a Golgari Guildgate.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to start with Venerated Loxodon.
Definitely.
The second best and third best card are Deadly Visit and True Fire Captain. But one of the things we've touched on a bunch of times, I don't care too much about what I'm passing.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't matter that much. So even if the Deadly Visit weren't here and it was True Fire Captain was the only good card, and let's say there's also a Sky Knight Legionnaire, that wouldn't stop me from going Boros if, we got past a pack and there's a Wojak Bodyguard or something.
Yeah, people tend to overvalue that quite a bit, and they think, well, I passed a True Fire Captain, I don't want to go into Boros. It's like, easy there. You're getting 2 packs coming from Tim Willoughby and Richard over here, so you want to
right, and the next person, with this particular pack, there's a Deadly Visit. If the person that we're passing to first picked a green or blue card, they're going to take Deadly Visit over True Fire Captain most of the time.
Yeah, or a black card, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Now, if they took a red or a white card,
then there's a good chance they take True Fire Captain.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we're passing on that one.
Okay, so this one comes around
here. And our pile is Venerated Loxodon.
Right, and now we're being passed to from Tim. So we've broken down the names. So it's Tim, Will, Obi, and Richard sitting to
All right, so we're going to go a little bit faster as we get through the packs. We've got a Generous Stray. So once we have a Venerated Loxodon, by the way, let's just talk a little about where that leaves us.
Yeah, so ideally Boros, actually.
Ideally
Boros.
Yeah. Though Selesnya is certainly acceptable as well.
That's the thing.
This isn't the kind of card you want to splash, though. So yes, there's a chance that we just get past a pack that has like a disinformation campaign or we abandon the Venerated Loxodon. But to complement this, we'll want to take a red or white card.
It's weird. It is the type of card I want to splash. I just can't imagine the deck that I'm doing that in.
Right.
Like, I like splashing those, kind of, it doesn't matter when you draw it cards. What's next? Oh, what was it? So that was Generous Stray?
Generous Stray, Wishcoin Crab. Wishcoin Crab's great, by the way.
You're a big fan?
Oh, yeah. But not going to take it here.
Main deck or board?
Main deck.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
Okay, we'll talk about that
This
in a
is
while.
one of our gems.
Okay.
Another Loxodon Restorer. Barrier Bones, the 1-mana 0/3 defender with Surveil 1. This has some applications, but not, of course, with Venerated Loxodon. Yep. And also just not that good that I want to move into it early. Urban Utopia, this is the 5-color fixer. Mephitic Vapors. Ooh, Notion Rain. This is the first really good card.
Okay.
This goes into my consideration pile. I like Notion Rain a lot. It means abandoning Loxodon, but it's worth looking at.
Yeah, I'm very high on Notion Rain as well.
Dowser of Lights, nothing too exciting. Dimir Locket. Ooh. Conclave Cavalier. So this is the white, green, 4/4 Vigilance, and when it dies, you make 2 white elf knight tokens.
Well,
so
that one has my attention now.
Almost assuredly taking that.
Yeah.
Next up is District Guide. This is the 2 and a green 2/2. Lets you search for a gate or a basic.
Fine card, but it's lower than I thought it would be.
Fine card, and if I'm going to take a Selesnya card after taking I would take a green card after taking a white card, I'm just going to take Conclave Cavalier. The payoff is really there.
Very good.
So I think Selesnya is the worst guild.
Yeah, so you have it below Golgari by a chunk now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have it 5th, but that doesn't mean I won't draft it if it's open.
Right.
So after the District Guide, we've got Pilfering Imp, Unmoored Ego, and Izzet Guildgate. So nothing particular.
Okay, so there is the rare still in the pack. It's just a junk rare. Do we know what rarity was taken here?
Looks like a common was taken.
Okay.
So given that, I'm going to assume that it's something like
Direct Current,
Deadweight, Current, Deadly Visit. Are the cards, maybe Artful Takedown, maybe Hypothesizal.
Yeah, you now, are you considering Luminous Bonds? Wouldn't you rather have the Cavalier or?
I think that's pretty close.
Okay.
I think that because Luminous Bonds is great in Boros or Selesnya, I could definitely see taking Luminous Bonds.
And
over
people don't like
Cavalier.
to take double cards early. So that
I think that in general, the monocolor removal spells are safer picks. We would have taken Deadly Visit over True Fire Captain. Yeah. This is kind of the same thing. All right. Okay. So we're starting with Venerated Loxodon and Conclave Cavalier.
So in the Nutlow Guild, but we've got a nice start here. Yeah.
All right. So now.
So this is from Will.
Yeah. And we're narrowing down even more here. Again, we're not locked in Selesnya. If the best card in the pack is Deadly Visit and the next best card is something mediocre, We should probably still take it.
Okay.
But we're not in a spot, we are at a spot where we're going to lean towards white.
Yeah, we should talk about that for a second because, we always say don't get married to your first picks, and we're not, you were just mentioning you're not going to do that here. But we've also been talking about Guilds of Ravnica as being somewhat lane-based where you kind of have to get in. I mean, we could be ditching both of these cards.
Well, because there's only 5 archetypes instead of 10, right? The normal set has 10 color pairs, and they're all generally draftable, even if they vary in power level. It means that there are fewer directions we could go from here and get to preserve our cards, even setting aside the fact that Conclave Cavalier has a really brutal mana cost. But let's say this is just 2 white cards, right? We would still be looking at something like Deadly Visit third and be like, well, this is not compatible with these cards.
Yeah.
Black-white's not supported. Yeah. So if we take a Deadly Visit, we're just going a different direction.
Okay. So what do we got from Will's pack number 3?
Fire Urchin, Vidalcan Mesmerist.
No.
Parhelion Patrol is the 4-mana 2/3 Flying Vigilance Mentor.
It's a card.
Surprisingly good because flying is a good ability, and it works really well in Selesnya, specifically with Iron Shell Beetle.
Okay. Put a counter on it, then you can start spraying counters around. Sure.
Portcullis Vine, more a Golgari card than a Selesnya card. Cosmotronic Wave. I mean, it's a fine Boros card, and we still have outs, to Boros. We're not locked anywhere.
Right, and that's the thing that we should consider here, right? It's only the Cavalier that we give up if we moved into
Right,
Boros.
if we took a direct current in this pack, then we'd be looking more at Boros.
Yep.
Ledev Guardian, 4-mana 2/4 Convoke.
Talk about disappointing.
Actually is a sideboard card, but still not the best.
You do that against aggro? Or?
Yeah, against aggro, I think this is...
I haven't been doing that.
I think that's better than the Locks on Restore.
Okay, just because you can get it down
It
at
comes
a
out
time.
on turn 3 a lot of the time. Vicious Rumors, we surprisingly had a debate about that.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think it was a particularly
I did board in
one.
2 of those once. That was bad.
Yeah.
I do not play that card.
No, it's not good. Erstwhile Trooper, this is the Golgari 2/2. It's not very good. Izzet Locket. Demotion, so this is the 1 white enchant creature can't block and activate abilities.
I love that card in Boros, man.
It is a good Boros card.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 1 mana, get to play a thing, and it's effectively a removal spell if you're turning creature.
It's more like Vendetta than anything else. That's that removal spell that makes you take a bunch of damage.
Yeah.
Selective Snare, not great. And then there's Selesnya Guildgate.
Oh, interesting.
Guildgates do get a lot more appealing once you have the double colored uncommons. My leaning is just take Parhelion Patrol.
I would take Patrol here myself.
I think Patrol just has high upside.
Yeah. I also like the idea that we have 2 white cards and then we're still dipping our toe into Selesnya, but we can bail. If there's a true fire captain, we can just jump.
All right. Next pack has who? Healer's Hawk.
This is Obi?
This is Obi, yeah.
Okay.
Healer's Hawk. It's a good start.
I like that.
I do like that one in Selesnya, and very good Venerated Loxodon. Wojek Bodyguard, another good one. This is one of the better commons for sure. And that very good in Boros. Bartizan Bats, Wild Ceratok, Pause for Reflection. None of those are particularly playable. Whisper Agent is a good card. We're very far from any of those colors.
Right.
At that point, I don't think I'd be looking at
No,
that.
and I think the Bodyguard is a direction I'd rather go.
Right.
Anyway. Yeah.
Righteous Blow, 1 white to deal 2 to attack or blocker.
Pretty disappointing
Yeah,
card.
it hasn't been very good.
Yeah.
Then Sonic Assault, Crawl Swarm, Silent Dart, not a particularly exciting card. Dimir Guildgate and Sprouting Rule. This is the Convoke. Make a 2/2 or destroy artifact or enchantment. I don't like it very much.
No, every time somebody plays that, I'm like, that is so underwhelming. Wow, this is an interesting choice. So do we stay on track with the Healer's Hawk, which would go right into the build that we have, or is that Wojek Bodyguard enough for us to peel off and maybe get rid of that Cavalier?
I would just take Healer's Hawk here.
I would too.
I think that even if you end up in Boros, this card's very good in Boros. And I'm not feeling like I'm locked on Selesnya because the only good green card we've seen is just the 1 Cavalier. But I think that getting a Healer's Hawk here means we have 3 good white cards, and that puts us in a good position to be Selesnya or Boros. I'm not giving up. I don't think we're giving up that much if we take Healer's Hawk over Wojek Bodyguard.
No, I mean, I think you could make an argument that Healer's Hawk is better anyway. So
you could make that argument.
yeah,
Yes,
I tend to lean towards Wojek. I do too, but I think that we're in the ballpark, and if that's the case, easy tiebreaker.
So we take the Healer's Hawk, and that leaves us with Parhelion Patrol, Venerated Loxodon, Healer's Hawk, and then that Conclave Cavalier.
And this is from Richard.
This is Richard's pack.
So
this is our last.
This
pack,
is our
by the way.
5th pick here.
Yeah.
We've got a Justice Strike.
Ooh,
That's a good sign. So I'd be leaning towards that right now. Just seeing that means there's a good chance Boros is open.
Yeah, because we've committed to white for the most part. So then you're just basically putting Justice Strike in the arena against the Conclave Cavalier.
One thing to note, by the way, on the Wojek Bodyguard versus Healer's Hawk discussion, Healer's Hawk is better with both Venerated Loxodon and Parhelion Patrol than Wojek Bodyguard.
Good point.
So at this point, I think that was a slam dunk. Yeah. Vigor Spore Worm, not exciting in Selesnya.
No.
Fearless Halberdier, not particularly exciting at all. Collar the Culprit, this is the destroy a creature with 4 toughness. That's a sideboard card.
Sideboard.
Burglar Rat, not in the market for that. Maniacal Rage, playable, but way worse than Justice Strike.
Yeah.
Rhizome Lurcher, Ledev Guardian, Wand of Vertebrae, Leapfrog, and Selesnya Guildgate. But
okay, so it's Guildgate or Justice Strike, but Justice Strike's a signal here.
Easy Justice Strike, yeah. Like, we don't know what direction things are going to go in from here, but we have outs to draft either Boros or Selesnya. White seems open. Good chance Boros is open to that Justice Strike. And at this point, the things I'm fairly sure of is that black is not open. And that blue is not open.
Yeah, we've definitely felt that
we saw a Whisper Agent, and that was about it.
Yeah, Leapfrog is like the next best card. It's pretty bad. So can you read our cards again? Just so
in order, we took Venerated Loxodon, Conclave Cavalier, Parhelion Patrol, Healer's Hawk, and then Justice Strike, leaving us with 3 mono white cards, and then a green white card and a red white card. We also have outs if we want to be a slower Selesnya deck to splash Justice Strike.
Okay.
Because that is an archetype as well.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we could wheel that district guide. One thing I want to talk about before we actually get Tim, Will, Obi, and Richard here to reveal what their decks actually look like is you were saying you're thinking that both black and blue are the colors that we're not seeing. Now, there's a natural tendency to look to the person right next to you and say, I think that the person passing to me is in blue and black or whatever, like maybe that they're straight up Dimir. How different does that look if it's the person next to them instead to us?
I mean, it's a little different. Like, someone 2 seats away versus 1 seat away can make it mean that you could overlap and feel not as bad. But I think that some combo of Dimir and either, my guess is not a white guild, so that would be like Golgari or Izzet are being drafted in the next couple of seats.
Okay. And then, of course, the big difference, too, when you actually open up those packs is that you have a shot to have somebody pass you a legitimate bomb if you're not in the same guild as them, where if they're 2 seats away, that shot falls off dramatically because you have 2 people. Okay, so let's get into it. Tim, or who am I talking to?
We're going to start off with Tim. So Tim was immediately passing to you guys.
Okay, and so where did Tim end up, and what was Tim's first pick?
So Tim's first pick of the draft was Direct Current.
Okay.
Which was one of the cards that you picked out. Straightforward, just a single color worth of removal.
Right, and to remind you, this was the
over
one
Conclave Cavalier.
Right, and that was the one that was there was a common missing, and we figured it was a removal spell. Okay,
and then his draft ended up going very firmly Boros, but it would have been quite difficult to get the read that was the case because his second pick was Tajik Legion's Edge, third pick True Fire Captain, fourth pick Swiftblade Vindicator.
So they took Vindicator over Justice Strike?
Yeah, that was a really close pick, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. What a curveball for us, too.
Yeah.
Because that deck's absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that deck just has 3 insane gold cards and a mono red card.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Vindicator versus Justice Strike pick, I'd be really intrigued for you guys to weigh in on. I kind of went with the reasoning of when Vindicator works out, it's absurd, and I've already got 2 decent mental creatures, and I know that I want to have a few other ways of pumping creatures anyway in my Boros. But I can easily see that just like the straightforward removal spell might just be
in general, I think Boros wants the creatures over the spells. So that pick's fine.
And you are correct, by the way. The upside on the Vindicator is just a joke.
Oh, it is much higher.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this is Will.
So Will...
2 seats away from us.
2 seats away. First picked a Night Veil Predator.
Okay, just went in for it.
Yeah, if you're going to pick a gold card, this is one of the gold cards that I find is really annoying to try and beat. And then followed up with a Watcher in the Mist and a relatively unexciting Radical Idea third, but still potential to do good things within Dimir there.
Okay.
For Obi first picked a Ritual of Soot, which means that potentially Will might find themselves getting choked a little bit on black removal. But then in the second pack, there wasn't anything obviously great Dimir-wise. And given that they were going to end up with a high curve anyway, decided to try something out with Golgari and took a Siege Worm next.
Okay.
Finally, Richard, who's practically the other side of the table from you at this point, first picked a Lava Coil. Which is the reason that, so it was Richard that opened the pack that had Justice Strike and the Vindicator in, and took the Lava Coil just because the Lava Coil felt like it was those were the 3 best cards in the pack, but it was the one that was most likely to be able to consistently
Lava
cast.
Coil's absurd.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tim, Will, Obi, and Richard there.
It's really hard drafting as 4 people at the same time, as it turns out.
Is it weird to, you have to, clear your head out every time, or?
Yeah, the first 2 or 3, you have to really carefully go, I'm not going to work on all of this extra information I have, because otherwise it becomes kind of a nonsense. But it was kind of interesting to me that, and this wasn't particularly planned, I ended up with a Boros deck, then a Dimir deck, then, I mean, I guess arguably Golgari, and then arguably Boros or Izzet.
Yeah.
And you guys ended up with Selesnya.
I guess it was particularly planned by R&D at some
I guess,
level,
yeah.
but
Like,
it kind of fell in cleanly into that as well.
I mean, I feel like the Golgari one was the most speculative of all of them. Like, it might have been just correct to give up on the first pick and take a powerful Boros card.
Yeah, I don't think I would have taken a Siege Worm there, but I think that the main difference is maybe we would have seen a Siege Worm instead of a Justice Strike.
Yeah.
Something like that. All right. Well, thank you, Tim. That was cool. And once again, thank you to Neil Rigby for donating the packs. And we're going to find something else to do with these packs, hopefully. And yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for that. Okay, Luis. So today, right? This was what, hours ago you had a limited meeting? You said it was, 3 to 4 hours long, depending on how you want to define the way that you use your time. Boy, that's a lot. And again, I actually kind of figured you guys would get together and be like, look, we've all drafted this a lot, and have some type of consensus. Is that what happened?
No, we had a lot of disagreements.
Who was in the room? I don't need a full list, but like...
So the main people who were there, who were like kind of driving the discussion, Sam Black, Mike Sigrist, myself, Andrew Beckstrom. Paulo hadn't drafted as much as a lot of us, so he was the one who was asking a lot more questions.
Was Ben there?
Ben was not. No, of course not. Ben Stark landed, hours before the Pro Tour start is his goal.
Of course.
And a bunch of other people, like we 15 people.
Yeah.
So the way we kind of laid it out was by guild, and this is there. So I thought that this format was a little bit more on rails than it actually is, given how this discussion went. So like. To sum it down, because we don't have 3 hours here. First I want to do a guild ranking, guild/color ranking. Dimir is by far the best guild. Like we this is I think pretty common consensus.
We've been on that for a while.
All the comments are insane. It was actually very stark when we laid it out, because we would lay it out by guild, and we would lay out all the Dimir cards, and it's like, wow, these cards are just absurd.
Yeah.
Like the 10th best Dimir card is still great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really good and consistent in all these things.
And blue's the best. So Izzet I have as the second best guild, so it's like Dimir, Izzet, probably, like, I think Boros is better than Golgari, but it's easier to get into Golgari, because one of the things I don't like about Boros is if you go down the path of drafting Boros, because it drafts so one way, aggressive Boros is just what you're going to be if you're Boros 90% of the time. It means that your fallback plan isn't very good.
Yeah. Yeah, mid-range Boros is not great.
Right, and even switching colors, like, one of the things I like about Dimir/Golgari is if you're Dimir and then Golgari's open, you can just swap over to Golgari, and a lot of your cards are either
keep your removal
relevant, because it's like, Whisper Agent and Deadly Visit and Deadweight, or you just have cards like Notion Rain, which you can splash, and it works in Golgari's game plan. If you're Boros and you want to switch, like Boros switching to Izzet, it doesn't work that well.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, you're missing a lot of stuff.
And same with Boros switching to Selesnya.
Did you delineate? You just kind of had Izzet in one block. Did you delineate it between the builds?
We had to rearrange the cards to accommodate the two builds, because Izzet does have two distinct builds. Okay. Yeah. So Dimir, Izzet, Boros, Golgari, Selesnya is our rough ranking, but I think you end up with Golgari a decent amount more than Boros as a result. So I have some notes on the guilds. So Dimir is basically always control. An aggro Dimir deck is conceivably possible, but
because of Darkblade Agent.
Yeah, if you end up with like Whisper Agent, Darkblade Agent, cheap removal.
Yeah,
but like that just
I've had those builds like twice, and it's just not there. It's just not what that control deck. Yeah, you just don't need to do that.
Wishcoin Crab is a card which I think is underrated.
Okay.
It just does a lot of what you want.
Okay, so put this into context, right? Because when people hear you say this, they're going to assume you mean it's good.
It is good.
Is it good?
It's good.
Is it main deckable? How badly do you want it?
I would almost always play one crab, sometimes two.
Put it next to another common. Like, it's not as good as Dimir Informant, right?
I think it's close.
Okay.
I think it's actually close.
Okay, so that's the line.
It's got a couple things.
Tim's eyebrows are up.
It's got a couple things going for it. One is that
Shelly.
It's got 5 toughness. Yeah. So it survives Hypothesisal, which is a pretty big deal.
Yep.
And it survives Artful Takedown, kind of. I mean, if it gets into combat, that still works. And then it does really well against like a lot of the Boros mentor creatures. Stops Rosemane Centaur. Like it just has good numbers.
Yeah.
2 power is enough to kill most of the things it'll duel against. Basically, it gets you virtual card advantage because it'll blank like 2 of their creatures.
Yep. That happens all the time.
And it's also cheap enough that in your deck with counterspells, because counterspells are really good in this format, you can tap out for Witchcoin Crab and not get punished. Whereas Dowser of Lights and Watcher of the Mist, it's not always the case. Sometimes you have to delay those by multiple turns because you want to keep a counterspell up.
Yeah. I play all the counterspells, by the way.
Yeah, so the counterspells, you got Disdainful Stroke and Devious Cover-Up at common, and then you have Sinister Sabotage at uncommon.
And technically Ionize, but yeah.
Sure, at rare, yeah. But those are all very good. And in fact,
I play all of them.
Once you have a Devious Cover-Up, the second Devious Cover-Up is very valuable.
Win con.
Like, we thought it was a meme, but it's not. It's
not.
just a good win condition.
No. Yeah.
Because inevitability is really important. I had a game today where I got the Devious Cover-Up loop going, and also had an Underrealm Lich in play, so I couldn't get decked. Like, so even if I didn't play anything, I could just do that.
You could not get decked and then also not get decked. It is interesting, though. I found that if you do get down the stretch with the Devious Cover-Up plan, you usually just win because your deck is so dense with good spells to draw that you just end up getting more of them. I don't think I've ever had it either with or against me where it came down to literally them looping
decking,
them.
But it's inevitability.
It's inevitability.
And even if you just have the one Cover-Up, that is often enough of a win condition if you've got a couple ways to deal damage. Where getting to shuffle in 4 cards again gives you enough gas to take you across the finish line. Yeah. So I would play all the counterspells.
I do too.
Like,
I play them all.
I've just main decked 4 counterspells in the deck and felt good about it. Another important pick is Deadweight versus Deadly Visit versus Artful Takedown. Currently I have it in that order.
That's the exact order I have too.
Deadweight, Deadly Visit, Artful Takedown. And that'll change when we get down to Golgari. But in Dimir, I think Deadweight is so important because it's the card that lets you either 2-spell on turn 4 when you cast a Dimir Informant and Notion Rain or whatever, or it lets you just cast on turn 1 or 2 to not fall too far behind.
Yeah. Because the really scary stuff that the opponent does is like if they're playing Boros, they play a Hawk and then they play one of the uncommons, right? Yeah. The Boros Challenger or the 2/2 First Strike. And you're just like, you need to have an answer for something here or you can fall too far behind.
And also, if you have 2 Deadweights in your deck, you can just choose to draw first.
Sure.
And I love the turn 1 Dimir Guildgate, turn 2 Deadweight plus Izzet Guildgate.
Chills.
Dimir often splashes. So cards that we had pretty high value, even in our Dimir lineup, were cards like Status Statue, Affectionate Indrik. Hypothesizzle, yep. That's a very common splash. That's another reason, by the way, I prefer Deadweight to Deadly Visit, is the 5-drop slot is pretty full with Watcher of the Mist and Deadly Visit and Hypothesizzle.
And Dowser of Lights.
And Dowser.
Yeah. And it makes a cutoff.
We had like a 15-minute discussion on Dowser versus Watcher. Not that anyone said Dowser was better than Watcher, but because Dowser is so good and you get it late, that meant a couple people on our team wanted to drop Watcher in the Mist by a number of slots.
Because it was more replaceable.
Because
even though it's like way better.
If you end up with 2 Dowsers or a Watcher and a Dowser, it's not that as big of a difference. So you'd rather, instead of the Watcher, take like a Whisper Agent early and then end up like Whisper Agent Dowser.
Because one's replaceable and the other's not. That's interesting.
So Dimir's pretty straightforward once you are settled into it. The top uncommons, Murmuring Mystic is just the best.
Yeah, it's the nut.
Then you've got Nightveil Predator and Disinformation Campaign as very close to each other, but I would tend to favor the Nightveil Predator just because it's just such a payoff.
Yeah, you feel it every time you cast it or somebody casts it against you. That feeling you get, that's raw power level on the battlefield,
And Guild Gates are also pretty important here because you end up not only 3 colors a decent amount of the time, but also Dimir is just able to incorporate Guild Gates into their curve well enough and has somewhat intense color requirements, lots of double colors, Deadly Visits and Devious Cover-Ups and whatnot, that I almost always want like minimum 2 Dimir Guild Gates even in a 2-color deck. I had a Team Sealed deck at day 1 of Grand Prix Denver. It was like the nut Dimir deck, Thief of Sanity, Nightveil Predator, like Disinformation Campaign, all the good commons. 0 Guild Gates, and I lost a lot of games to just not having the right kinds of mana. And so it's just really important to take this Guild Gate. So when you're looking at mid-range playables like Dimir Informant, Child of Night, that sort of thing, I would be looking to take Guild Gate over them.
Okay.
So Izzet's a little bit more complicated. We've talked a lot about control versus aggro. I think the general consensus is that the aggro version of Izzet is the worst version, and you basically only draft it when you don't get there on the control version.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I do have it as worse as well, but just have them as two separate entities entirely. Like, I don't think of one as a backup plan for the other.
I think aggro is a backup plan because a lot of the good cards in Izzet go in both decks.
Sure.
You know, Goblin Electromancer, Piston Fist Cyclops, and Hypothesizzle, all great cards. They're all heavily prized. Direct Current. You know, these are all cards that you want in both your decks. Mm-hmm. And if you have the card quality, just play the control deck.
Yeah.
You know, you play your Hypothesizzles and Direct Currents as ways to remove things. Capture Sphere is also fine, though. Not quite as good because it's not literally an instant or sorcery. And then you have Electromancer to make things flow a little more smoothly. Piston Fit Cyclops, Electrostatic Field, Wishcoin Crab as ways to go up the ground and potentially kill your opponent. Mm-hmm. And then you still want the counter spells. You know, Devious Cover-Up. Disdainful Stroke's so good with Electromancer.
Yeah.
When you just snap off their bomb with a Disdainful Stroke after, like, with an Electromancer in play.
You know, on Arena, it, like, adjusts the mana costs of the cards if you have an Electromancer. Right. It's just blue for that. Yeah. It's like, oh my god.
So, and one cool thing about Izzet is because Radical Idea and Chemist's Insight and Direct Current, you know, all these good jumpstart cards are cards you want in your deck. Even Hypothesis, you have a lot of discard outs, which means that having like 3 Electromancers in your deck is pretty nice, even if you really only need one in play. Mm-hmm. Having multiples of situational cards is fine because you have a lot of outs to utilize those cards.
Yep.
One of the cards that led to a lot of debate was Sonic Assault.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up just now.
So, very good card in the aggro version, right? It's the way that you steal wins.
It's kind of the reason. I mean, that to me is the linchpin for the aggro version. It acts as a removal spell, and it's not, and you get it way later.
There's a bunch of cards that are in that vein. You've got Maximize Altitude. This is the flying one. Yeah. Sonic Assault, Gravitic Punch.
Yeah, that's true. I have the Maximize Altitude way lower, but
for sure.
Yeah.
Cosmotronic Wave. You just have a lot of that kind of effect. Sonic Assault's the best of them.
Yeah.
But they are replaceable.
Yeah.
One thing that a couple of us liked, myself included, was I like having one Sonic Assault even in some of the control decks.
Yeah, so talk about that, because, you know, that's not a card you'd normally associate with control.
So there's a couple of reasons. One is that you have, like, if you have a good creature base, especially with multiple Piston Fists, sometimes you can still just kill your opponent. You just have, like, an Electromancer and a Piston Fist, and you're just like, Sonic Assault, attack you for 6, Sonic Assault, attack you for 6, and that's a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. The other is that if you've got, like, a lot of Jumpstart or Hypothesizzles, you can discard Sonic Assault to those cards.
Sure. And
then you'd later have something that provides you utility, maybe buys you a little bit of breathing room if you use it defensively, though that's not great, and sets you up where your opponent feels like they're pressured, so they might not attack you with more things. Like, they just have to worry about this the entire time. Yeah. And then if you have Direct Current or Inescapable Blaze, you have a surprising amount of reach. Like, I don't mind playing a Leapfrog in my control deck because it just pecks in for 3 a turn a lot of the time.
Yeah, and it can trade up.
And certainly good at aggro. One of the cards that some of us thought were underrated in the Izzet aggro deck is Barging Sergeant, the 5-mana 4/2 mentor.
The Barging?
Barging Sergeant plus Wishcoin Crab? That's some pressure.
Okay. That's living the dream, I suppose. I've never done that.
So the Sergeant does not combine particularly well with Piston Fist Cyclops for multiple reasons. You can't enter it and probably can't attack with both. But it does go really well with your cards like Sonic Assault or Maximize Altitude.
End step, untap, get you.
And getting a Mentor trigger is pretty nice in a deck that could use all the stats it can get.
Okay.
One of the cards led to most of it was Wojek Bodyguard. So I tend not to like it in the Izzet decks. I feel like even the Izzet aggro decks sometimes have 10, 12 creatures. Mm-hmm. Like, you can have a deck that you would properly classify as Izzet aggro. It has, like, you know, some of the, like, 1/3 fire elementals, some Electromancers, Piston Fist Cyclops, and, like, maybe a Goblin Banneret, but, you know, like a Whisper Agent, you know, that sort of thing. But it's still not a ton of creatures, and it has a lot of spells. Granted, there are removal spells and damage spells, but you're not in a spot where if you have a Wojek Bodyguard on 3, you're necessarily going to be able to follow it up with much.
No, and also there's a lot of awkward interactions there. Like you mentioned the Piston Fist Cyclops, you're not mentoring onto that.
Right.
Then your brain might go, oh, we Dragonauts. But it's like oftentimes you want to use a removal spell pre-combat to get something out of the way, and now you're not mentoring onto that. There's just some... It just doesn't quite get there in those decks.
Yeah. Another card I want to highlight is Invent. Very good in the control deck, especially if you have a good...
I splashed for it in my Dimir deck.
Yeah, if you have some good sorceries to get, like getting Deadly Visit, Artful Takedown obviously is great.
Yeah.
It's really good in Izzet with Electromancer because it's just an expensive card, and it's a spell that gets 2 more spells, so Electromancer is saving you 3 mana over the course of all that.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. The sorceries are actually the harder part in my experience.
Yes, it's harder to get sorceries.
Yeah, I found that, like, I have these great choices on all these instants, and then I'm, like, scrapping it out to get something at sorceries.
Right. That's one of the reasons Discovery Dispersal is pretty nice. It's a sorcery that goes in these decks.
Oh, sure. That's kind of cool.
And you have direct current, deadly visit, and of course if you're touching black.
Yeah.
And then if you have stuff like maximize altitude velocity, you could go get it, but those don't tend to fit all that well.
Yeah, and then it's important, of course, to remember invert as well.
Right. So a bonus with invert is Vidalcan Mesmerist, the 2-mana 2/1 that gives -2/-0. You can -2/-0 their 2/2, then invert it to kill it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's like
you do have to run a Vidalcan Mesmerist to make this happen.
But if you're playing the kind of janky aggro deck, and again, this is not the ideal situation. The ideal situation, of course, is that you end up with like, you have a Beacon Bolt, a Crackling Drake, and,
of course.
and 2 Hypothesizals and a Chemister's Insight, and you just get to play this nice control game. But the reality is sometimes you end up with a bunch of creatures and some Sonic Assaults, and in that deck, if you're already going to run some Mesmerists to go with your like Wojak Bodyguard, then invert invent actually does have some utility there.
Just invert the crab.
Yeah.
There you
this
go.
deck builds itself.
I had a really loose Izzet control deck that one of its ways to win was inverting your Dimir Informant plus Wishcoin Crab, hitting them for 9, then like using Inescapable Blaze on them, and then Devious Cover Up to get Blaze back, because I only had 1 cover up, so I couldn't deck them. It got some really loose wins.
That's insane.
The best uncommons, the ones that put us into Izzet, Chemister's Insight is just one of the best uncommons in the set, by the way.
Awesome card, awesome.
It's just splashable, it's great in Golgari, it's great in Dimir, it's great in Izzet. Murmuring Mystic, of course, is just the stone nuts in Izzet. It's the best here, and it's already a good card. And then you have Crackling Drake and Beacon Bolt were about equivalent in terms of... Like, I would favor taking Crackling Drake earlier, because Beacon Bolt doesn't always get there. But on the other hand, Beacon Bolt's splashable in some Dimir decks.
Dimir, yeah. I've put it in Dimir quite a few times. It doesn't quite shine as much, but especially against the decks that you actually care about, which are the smaller decks, it really does.
More often, you're Dimir splashing Hypothesizal than you are the other way around. But Izzet can splash something like Integrity Intervention. This is the Lightning Helix, split card, because Integrity is also red for +2/+2, which is not far from a playable card itself. And then you could also splash black for cards like Artful Takedown is the kind of thing that, is potentially splashable. Mm-hmm. So Izzet took a while to kind of get through.
Yeah.
So the way I would recommend drafting Izzet is start with removal and card advantage and Electromancer and Piston Fist. Those are the kind of cards you're looking for because they're good no matter what.
Yeah.
Because it's not like Hypothesizal is bad even in the aggro deck. It's just still really good there.
And Piston Fist Cyclops performs well everywhere. In either of them. Yeah.
Right. And then if it looks like you're not getting there, then you can segue into the aggro deck. But I think you should start for the control deck. Oh, another reason to take Sonic Assault somewhat highly is a lot of people view late Sonic Assaults as a signal that Izzet is over.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And you don't want to send that signal. You want people to not be drafting your guild.
Doesn't it feel weird, though, that you have to, it's not really a signal, right? That's a card that doesn't go into really any decks outside of that one happily. Right?
I would look at doing that only in pack 1 to save your pack 2. If it's late pack 2, at this point, the person on your right should have already decided on what they're doing.
I don't know. They should have figured it out already and said that effectively that card is Erstwhile Trooper or whatever, right? Like to them, even though it's better in the deck that it goes in. But.
I hope to be casting Hypothesizals. Oh, Izzet Locket's the best Locket.
Okay.
Partially because Izzet has some really powerful 5-drops like Hypothesizal. The other is that cards like Niv Mizzet, for example, is one of the use cases where once you have a Niv Mizzet, I mean, look, this might sound corner case, but part of our goal in this is to just talk through everything. Mm-hmm. That's why it takes so long. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you have Niv Mizzet, prioritize a Locket.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing to keep an eye on.
Getting it out early and getting that fixing is just insane, yeah.
So let's talk about Boros. Mm-hmm. So Boros is aggressive. This is the most slanted. Boros aggressive and Dimir control are the 2 most slanted guilds, right? Whereas Izzet's split probably 70-30 towards control, and Selesnya is probably 80-20 towards aggro. Boros is 90-10 towards aggro.
Yeah.
So in general, the creatures are better. So, the top of our Boros rankings, Truefire Captain, Boros Challenge, not in this order. So Boros Challenger is the best. Then something like Truefire Captain, Skydite Legionnaire, Wojak Bodyguard, Goblin Banneret, Sunhome Stalwart. Yep. Basically all the mentor creatures and Skydite Legionnaire.
Yep. All the cheap mentor creatures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then you have cards like Direct Current and Luminous Bonds. I tend to favor Luminous Bonds, and that's because Boros wants to remove big blocker more that wants to kill small ones. And red can sometimes be tough in your 10 plan 7 mountain decks.
Yeah, sure.
Especially since Boros Guildgate is it's the worst Guildgate. this is the guild that wants guild gates the least.
Right. But also, going into what you're saying, you're playing a heavy creature decks here, right?
Yeah.
Because, one of the benefits to Direct Current, of course, is that you can finish off the game with it as well. So that's a big benefit. But if you have a ton of creatures, then getting a blocker out of the way can result in more damage sometimes.
Yeah. So in general, I would say that the removal, like Integrity, Intervention, and Justice Strike are both better than all the commons, but they're worse than the good uncommon mentor creatures.
Okay.
And then,
Sure.
And then I would take Sky Knight Legionnaire, Wojak Bodyguard over Luminous Bonds and Direct Current.
You want to get your
Boros. So part of what we did when we explained all this was also, we're not talking pick one, pack one. Because pick one, pack one, I'd take Luminous Bonds over Sky Knight Legionnaire.
And Direct Current as well, right?
Right. Both of those.
Yeah.
Once you know your Boros, let's say you opened Aurelia, and then, what would you take? Oh, I'd take Sky Knight Legionnaire over Luminous Bonds or Direct Current.
Gotcha.
The combat tricks, so Sure Strike and Take Heart are both very good. And Take Heart, I think, is better than Sure Strike.
So I have those flipped. Yeah, I found that Sure Strike gets you past some of the pesky creatures just enough at times in the game where the 1 mana isn't as important. So I have those flipped just for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think they're close. They're both quite strong. And then Healer's Hawk is another card we like a lot in this deck. So a note about Healer's Hawk, by the way. I think it's good. I think it is overrated right now.
Definitely.
And as a result, we talked amongst ourselves, and most of us don't have very many Healer's Hawks in our accounts. Because, yes, we like Healer's Hawk. We're not taking Healer's Hawk over Luminous Bonds.
No, there's people taking it super, super early.
Yeah,
they think
I don't
it's the
think
best
that
white
is correct.
common, Oh, Tim raised his hand. You're a big Healer's Hawk fan,
Yeah.
Tim?
The most I've had in a deck is 7. That deck was unbeatable.
You have to commit very early to get to that.
Yeah, but I think that you're not gonna win as much if you take Healer's Hawk over Luminous Bonds. I just think Luminous Bonds is better.
That is correct. Like the card that I have a question about in Boros is how much do you want your first Cosmotronic Wave?
So that's a good one. That's a card we specifically talked about. And Cosmotronic Wave, yes, you want exactly one in almost all your Boros decks. It's a good card. The thing is, Boros doesn't have that many spell slots, so it's not that high a priority because you would still rather have Direct Current or Luminous Bonds. And yes, you can't always get those, especially since you're taking the mentor creatures over those a lot of the time. But if you end up with a spell slot, Cosmotronic Wave is a good thing to use. I would rank it right below. I would say removal spells, your first pump spell, then Cosmotronic Wave. So Boros is pretty straightforward. It doesn't, again, you can't change plans very well. And that's true of a lot of the guilds. Once you're deep into it, it's hard to change directions, but Boros especially. So I think that the odds you end up in Boros are a little lower as a result. You should be able to read the room, and if you get a 5th pick Justice Strike, in this case Boros wasn't super open, but that was a weird pack. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times, if you get a 5th pick Justice Strike, you should lean towards drafting Boros.
Yeah.
Not much in the way of splashing here. That's just not what we're going for. People kind of vaguely talked about mid-range Boros, but that's just not a deck we really want to draft.
Experimental Frenzy.
Oh, the Stone Nuts.
Love it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that Lava Coil versus Experimental Frenzy is a pick we debated.
Really?
Yeah, I'm on the side of taking Frenzy.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm shocked at that. I would take Lava Coil, not even close.
Oh, really?
But I might be wrong. I mean, I played with Frenzy twice, so...
It's so good.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly the ceiling is completely off the roof. It probably has the highest ceiling of any card outside of Izzet. Yeah. Well, sometimes you draw 2 lands in a row and die.
Sometimes that can happen.
Obviously, I'm not saying that's the use case, but, Lava Coil, never, ever, ever, ever bad.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
But
in fact, always really
Frenzy
good.
will win you games no other card in the world can.
Okay. What do you think, listeners? Let us know.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So, and then we've got Golgari.
Now, you kind of predicted a while ago that you thought the Golgari might be better than Selesnya. You're there now.
Yes.
And the team is too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Golgari overlaps with Dimir a lot. I've had multiple drafts where I think I'm one of the guilds, and then when I go, but I'm taking cards of the other guild too. I think I'm going to maybe be 3 colors. And then I look at the end and I'm like, oh, I'm actually kind of just fine being 2 colors, but not even the colors.
You were going to splash the Indrik, and now you're just like, wait, I'm just here. Yeah.
And part of that is because black is so good.
Yeah.
And so so when you're looking at a bridge color, right? Black's the bridge between Dimir and Golgari. If you can concentrate on heavier black, kind of like in this draft we just did, the Crack-a-Draft, where we had 3 white cards and then a white-green card and a white-red card, we're concentrating on white and then kind of keep ourselves open to which of the two guilds we should jump into.
Yeah.
So if you're able to do that, you can end up in a really good spot.
Yeah, because the black cards that you'll see down the middle are very strong,
Yes.
right? The common removal that we talked about earlier.
Two rock solid common removal spells, and then a lot of good support cards. There's two main Golgari decks. Both are controlling. One is the Rats and Cats deck. This is the Burglar Rat, Generous Stray, Severed Strands, Rhizome Lurcher. Yeah, Rats and Cats.
I like that.
And then the other is the 3 to 5 color deck. I still think 3 colors generally better than 5 color, but you can kind of.
I'm an expert now.
Yeah, you can spread your wings a little bit.
Yeah. I've found, by the way, on those 3 to 5 color decks that even if you do end up in 4 or 5 colors, having a solid 2 color pair base is really important to making those things work. You can get away with some splashes, but if you're legitimately like just spread out fully into the different colors, you will straight up just be too slow. You're just going to miss stuff and you're going to lose.
So the more undergrowth heavy deck does want Rhizome Lurcher, Necrotic Wound, Crawl Forger. I'm a big fan of in these decks. Does not want Siege Worm. Siege Worm's very bad in Golgari.
Siege Worm's out.
Yeah, Siege Worm's just bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's not good in Selesnya either.
Yeah.
So, in this deck, I want Deadly Visit over Deadweight.
Interesting.
So, I would start by taking Deadweight over Deadly Visit because I think it's much better in Dimir, like to take it in that order. Once you know your Golgari, take the 5-mana removal spell.
Okay.
Like, you have all this cheap stuff you can get in the way.
Yeah.
So you don't need the
You're
Deadweight.
playing Hired Poison, right? You're playing these.
And the card selection matters a lot more because you don't have as much card draw or surveil.
Okay. Sure.
So, very important there. I love splashing Notion Rain in these decks.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Like
you said, it goes along with the theme, plus it's just a strong card.
Right. It's been very good. Undercity Uprising is still bad. Erstwhile Trooper is still bad.
Yep.
So one thing that I do disagree kind of with our previous selves on is I think Glaive of the Guild Pact is quite good.
I'm kind of off of it. So here's the thing. This is my take on Glaive, right? If you're only running 2 gates, you don't want it. Mm-hmm. If you're running 3 gates, maybe, but it seems just mediocre.
The target number for me is like 5.
Yeah, but like, what is the deck that's running 5 gates?
This deck.
The Golgari deck.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you just throw it on a rat or a cat. Yeah, that seems totally fine.
Or like
I just don't usually run 5 gates in my 2 color decks. That's
the thing is, you're often 3 colors, and playing an extra guild gate or 2 to enable the glaive has been good.
Okay, that makes sense. The thing I really want is a lifelink creature to put it on.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it's good on Hired Poisoner or the Gorgon, just as death touchers.
Yeah.
And if you're getting +3/+0 from it, it's good on almost anything.
Yeah, for sure. And I've lost to it. I mean, the card has some power locked up in it.
It kind of makes them trade off. And then fuels kind of your undergrowth stuff as well.
So it's a finisher in the deck? Is that?
Yeah, it's more of a finisher.
Okay.
It's a way to turn your scraps into threats.
Okay.
Look, I'm not nuts about the card. I'm not taking it 3rd pick. I'm more taking it 5th or 6th pick as a backup.
Minimum number of gates.
I would like 5.
Okay.
I think you can run it with 4 if you're desperate, but it's really good with Awkward Assassin that forces them to block.
Oh yeah, that's stupid.
But
that's really stupid.
In general, I think that you want like 5 gates.
Yeah, I had a deck with 12 gates or whatever on the stream, and I had one of those, and the chat was trying to make me play it, and I was just like, no. Like,
well, at that point, yes.
My deck has full inevitability.
At that point, you don't need it.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Presumably, if you have 12 gates in your deck, it's because you have millions of Hypotheses and Deadly Visits.
Exactly what I had. Yeah.
Yes, but we're talking the 17 creature Golgari deck that has a lot of crappy creatures and wants a way to finish the game.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Portcullis Vine, also very good in these decks, in the Rats and Cats version of the deck. And once you have 2 or more Portcullis Vines, then you can play Barrier Bones. This is the 1-mana 0/3 Surveil one because you get to sack it to draw a card. Yeah, and even the Grappling Sundew, or whatever.
Come on, man. I know that's the one. I've played it.
Once you have multiple Portcullis Vines, it actually does the trick.
By the way, you've described the perfect curve, right? Portcullis Vine into rat into cat.
Yep. I mean, once you do that,
Taste it.
Again, we're not saying that the undergrowth cards are busted, but once you can enable them, that they're playable. It's I still don't really love Lotleth Giant. That's
the one I like.
I think it's just okay. I like Rhizome Lurcher.
I don't like Molder Hulk or whatever.
No, Molder Hulk's pretty bad. Yeah. I really like Crawl Forgers and Rhizome Lurcher. Golgari Raiders is still pretty bad too. This is the haste one. Yeah. And when you're Golgari, you have the opportunity to branch out into other colors as it comes up. You can also be Obzon, like Ladev Champion, Luminous Bonds, Conclave Tribunal, are all fine splashes.
How often would you say you're splashing in a deck like this?
I would say Golgari splashes more than half the time.
Okay, so a lot.
Yeah, so I prioritize gates pretty highly. Dimir and Selesnya gates pretty highly, as well as Golgari gates. One thing that came up is if you're straight Golgari in pack 1, it might be right to take Dimir Guildgate over Golgari Guildgate because Golgari Gilgit goes a lot later in general.
Yeah, nobody wants it except for you. That's interesting.
And Dimir Gilgit can still help you splash your, your Notion Reigns or what have you. And, it Trot of the Silence or whatever bomb you end up with.
Takedowns, yeah, sure.
Artful Takedown. So, I like drafting Golgari. Ended up like my last 2 drafts for Golgari, partially because it's just easy to get into it.
Okay.
And then lastly, we've got Selesnya.
Wah wah.
So there are 2 Selesnya decks. There's aggro and control. The only way you end up, in our experience, control Selesnya is bombs. March of the Multitudes, Trostani, like that sort of thing. That can lead you towards being control Selesnya.
You're incentivized to make the game go long.
Otherwise, you should probably be playing aggro Selesnya. You want a lot of low drops. You want Rosemane Centaur. It's the name of the game. You do not want Siege Worm. You do not want World Soul Colossus. Even Flight of the Equinox is just not very good.
Kind of too slow, yeah.
Yeah. Iron Shell Beetle is very good in this deck because it combines really well with the mentor creatures. Sunhome Stalwart, Parhelion Patrol, Blade Instructor even.
Obviously good with the Hawk.
Yeah, and it's great with Healer's Hawk. If you have like a deck with 2 Healer's Hawk, 3 Iron Shell Beetle, you can just get a lot of free wins, especially if you play those 2 into a Rosemane and just are, kind of pressuring them with pump spells.
Yeah.
Might of the Mass is a very high pick here. Prey Upon surprisingly good. This is the only deck that wants Prey Upon. Don't like it in the Golgari decks at all. Their creatures are just too
you don't
small.
like it at all. Okay.
No, I think that it would take a very unique Golgari deck to want a bunch of Prey Upons. And in the Selesnya deck, when you have like 3 Rosemane Centaurs, then you end up in a spot like a Ladev Champion, like a bunch of other cards. You can end up playing Prey Upon a lot more likely. Sworn Companion's also good in the Convoke heavy deck. These decks want to aim to be like 16 land a lot of the time and just have basically 1, 2s, and 3s and then Convoke cards and pump spells. Serviceable deck.
Kind of boring, but...
Yeah, Luminous Bonds is good. It's got a couple of removal spells. There are some higher rarity cards like, Conclave Cavalier is very good in this deck. Ladev Champion's good. So it's got some good...
Our Loxodon buddy here.
Yeah, well, very Loxodon's the nuts. So yeah, you've got some good power level here. Again, this, like Boros, and this is part of the reason I think white is the worst color, is that they don't let you have a plan B very well.
Yeah.
Whereas the Grixis colors and the Sultai colors, so Dimir Izzet and Dimir Golgari, all let you mix and match as you like see like, oh wow, there's a 7th pick Deadly Visit, or wow, that's a really lit Watcher of the Mist, and you can kind of slide into a different version of the deck. If you end up Selesnya and it dries up, it's often hard to transition that because both Boros and Selesnya want to be 2 colors. They don't want to be 3. Mm-hmm. So you're not really drafting like Naya Control very often, Yeah,
it's really interesting because, you're saying, like if you were just to ask me, what are the 2 colors you don't want to be in? Or what guild don't you want to be in? I probably would have said Golgari. But if you said, what are the colors you don't want to be in? I would have said green and white.
Yeah.
Because black just helps so much, with the removal spells we talked about.
Yeah, so the format's interesting.
That's super fascinating. I mean, that's a lot of changes, from week 1.
Yeah, and I suspect some of this will continue changing. I mean, there are things like, Healer's Hawk is very overrated right now, but I don't expect that card to actually go down in value because people want to love this card. Mm-hmm. And it happens that it's actually good in this format, but that just gives everyone what they've always wanted, which is the 1-mana 1/1 flyer is actually good.
Yeah, Tim's got the green light. He's
so now they're just going to be slamming them.
But thinking about that, part of the reason, everything that you're saying about Dimir being good, part of the reason that I love drafting Boros in this format is that I'm a busy guy. I don't have time to, learn the entire format as much as I might like always. And as such, I quite like forcing, and I feel like Boros is a good deck to force a lot of the time.
If you're going to force, go for it. I would force Boros. But.
And I've slapped my fair share of Candlelight Vigils on Healer's Hawks and killed people.
Okay. Yeah, you really don't. You need a little more time, I think, for drafting, Tim. If you're playing Candlelight Vigil.
Have you seen what happens when you put those 2 cards together?
I have. Somebody kills it.
Yeah, they cast Unexplained Disappearance.
Yeah. Any last thoughts? How are you feeling about coming into the PT, Louisa? You're going to be playing.
Good.
Yeah, you ready to go?
I feel well practiced in draft and playing 18 planes in constructed or 20 planes in constructed. So
you're forcing.
Oh yeah, I got Hero's Hawk in my constructed deck. so who knows how overrated it is?
You didn't find Rustwing Falcon?
No. Hero's Hawk's much better.
Okay, yeah. Who cares about Goblin Chain Whirler anyway?
And we've got the full 4 Banalish Marshals in my deck, so I'm just ready to get let down my Marshal once again.
Well, hopefully I help the rest of your team do well. And good luck tomorrow, Luis. That's going to wrap it up for this one. Tim, thanks so much for coming back on the show.
It's been fun.
You opened a store. You've had a kind of a big career change since last time I had you on.
So just in the last couple months, I now have a store, Magic Madhouse London, in the Penthouse Suite out in East London. So anyone that's heading across to the Pro Tour in April in London, come see us. We
can play Magic in your store?
You can play Magic in the store. We're a fully fledged game store with about 100 seats, a whole bunch of draft tables. But we're also a fully licensed bar. So if you want to come along, have a few drinks, have a good time that way, or, across the streams, all of that stuff works out just fine.
How old do you have to be in England to have an alcoholic
You have to be 18 to be allowed to drink in the UK.
Oh, that's a lot younger than in the US. Oh, you might get some people coming in there.
Who knows?
They come out
You're all welcome.
For the events. Well, thank you, Tim, again, for taking the time to break your personality down into 4 or 5 different parts and do the
I'm just
draft
a fragment of a shatter of it.
Well, we'll put yourself back together and I'll buy you dinner. How about that?
Deal.
I want to remind you the show's brought to you by channelfireball.com. Make sure you check them out for all of your Magic needs. Specifically, if you need to sell your cards back to them, you end up with that pile of rares sitting by your on your desk, not doing anything for you. You can send them back to Channel Fireball. They'll give you a 30% trade-in bonus you can use for anything you want in the store. Or if you just need the money, they'll just give you the cash for it too. So either way, make sure you do that. Keep up on it. It's kind of a good way to help offset the costs on what can be a pretty expensive hobby in Magic. If you want to find us on social media, I'm Marshall_LR. Luis is LSV, and Tim is Tim's Wheelbarrow. Tim, where can people find about your store? Is there a site?
The best thing to do at the moment is probably go on Facebook. We're Magic Madhouse London on Facebook. We post all our events. We have all the photos of what's going on.
They can get a feel for your store before going to check it out.
Get a feel for everything that's going on. Like, in addition to Magic, we run like every game imaginable.
Okay, so if we have gamers in the audience, I assume our audience only plays Magic, but
I mean, there's Ravnica D&D now.
No, it's like sacrilege to play any other game. That's my hot take on it. That's going to do it for this one. Luis, good luck at the Pro Tour, man. Hopefully, I don't see you in the booth on Sunday. I'd like to see you down in the top 8 area again. But either way, good luck, man.
If a Luis can win Player of the Year, then anything's possible.
That's going to do it for this one. We will see you next week.
All right. So because Tim is here, I want to give a brief tournament report of my second Pro Tour ever.
Ooh.
Pro Tour London 2004.
Oh, is this the great match in the feature match here against Tommy Willoughby?
That is the conclusion. So this was a crazy trip because this is not only my second Pro Tour ever. This was also one of the first times I had traveled kind of like by myself outside the country. It was in London.
Yep.
I didn't go by myself, but I guess without like my parents and whatnot. I was like 19 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
So I went with David Ochoa Webb, longtime Pro Tour veteran. He has a PT top 8 himself, even though that came much later. My younger brother, actually, he just came along for the visit. So Antonio, and then our friend Alan's son. So just another person. Me, Alan, and Webb won the 3 PTQs in Northern California. So, this is back when there's like regional... everyone who won the PTQ in the region were like, hey, we're going to travel together, of course.
And Antonio was just coming to hang?
Yeah, he was just coming to hang.
Awesome. That sounds like a sweet trip.
Yeah, so we go. A couple things about the trip. One, didn't have any money. It was...
You're 19.
Very much on a budget. And this was at a point where the pound was like slightly over $2. So
yeah, it was
punishing. So we ate a lot of like sandwiches from grocery stores and like pizza. Like... I'll be honest, the food in England, not the best I've ever had at best, and we weren't having the best of the food.
This is something I'm looking to rectify at the Pro Tour. I've actually already picked out a whole bunch of places. You're going to have a wild time.
I know I'm going to get angry mail for this, but come on.
Yeah.
So we also were insanely jet lagged. Was not an experienced international traveler. We had all of us, so we were all staying in the same room at a hostel.
Of course you were. In a hostel?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Every single day, we all woke up at around 3 a.m. and did a draft. Because it was an all-draft Pro Tour.
Yep.
We didn't.
Oh my God.
We hadn't brought the right packs. The Pro Tour was Champions, Betrayers, but we had managed to only bring Betrayers packs. So we were just drafting triple
Betrayers. Is that a small set?
Yeah.
There's more GTAs, right?
It wasn't even a real set, but this was on our practice.
That's unbelievable. At 3 a.m. when you should have been adjusted. Yes. Okay.
Also, on a more serious note, the London bombings happened. The subway bombings. There was a King's Crossing, I think, is where it was.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Oh, wow.
And this happened
while you were there.
The day before
the Wednesday before the PT.
Oh, my God.
The city was shut down. Like you couldn't get a cab. There was no public transit. There
was a bunch of really absurd stuff. So like there was initially a bomb on the tube, and then there was a bomb on a bus, which meant they gradually shut down all the public transport in the city. Also, because they thought that people were using their mobile phones to set the bombs off, they shut down the mobile phone networks for central London.
That's unbelievable.
So there was this like blackout period where literally nobody knew what was going on. Like I ended up walking like the length of the city to get to the site on that Wednesday.
Crazy.
But like, I mean, for the guys that didn't have very much money, there was one upside to this.
Yes, the £1 drafts.
Yeah.
That was like what the TO did just to kind of
keep everyone safe, keep them in one place.
Yeah, they keep everyone at the site. £1 drafts. The drafts cost £1.
Well, so actually, what it was at 1 o'clock, they were £1. When it got to 2 p.m., they were £2, and so on and so forth. So you could do a lot of very, very cheap drafts.
So we jammed a bunch of drafts, this time with the actual correct packs.
Good job.
So I start the draft. I won my first draft. And again, this was all draft pro tour. So in order to make day 2, you had to go 4-2. It was 2 drafts on day 1.
So you won-2'd your first real draft?
I won-2'd my first real draft at the pro tour.
Oh, no.
So in order to make day 2, no, I have to go 3-0. So I have to go 3-0, and I'm looking at my pack, and there's a cranial extraction in it. And this was a $20 rare. But rares weren't $20. Yeah, I took the cranial extraction.
Oh, no.
I was like, look, I'm 1-2. What are the odds that I 3-0 this draft? Like, this is my second PT, whatever. End up 3-0ing that draft.
Oh, my God. So you got all the value?
Yeah, I did. I make cranial extraction. Or, sorry, make day 2. Have a good run. And I drafted champions pretty weird. Like, this is back before there was unlimited resources, before there was streaming. There was just not that much info. And I liked a lot of weird cards. And so I end up in a spot where if I 3-0 my last draft, I'll make top 8.
Okay.
And I sit
top
down.
8?
Yes.
Of the Pro Tour?
Yeah, because I routed off day 2.
Wow.
Yeah, I went 5-1 in my first 2 drafts on day 2. It's 3 drafts on day 2. And then I sitting at a table with like a ton of people I recognize. Antoine Royal, Tim Ayton, like just like for 2004, this was like Jeff Cunningham, like a lot of the folks who were good at Magic then. Mm-hmm. And my first pick, I had the choice of Reverse the Sands. This is 6 white. Switch life totals with your opponent.
Oh my God.
Or Nagao bound by...
that sounds completely... This was in your final couple of choices?
No, this is my first pick.
I'm saying you've narrowed this pack down to 2 cards, and one of them is 8 mana switch life totals?
I love this card.
This card was super powerful in this draft format.
Well, no one liked it, but I loved it.
I feel sick to my
And I
stomach.
thought I was really smart.
What was the other card?
Nagao bound by honor, which was a lot easier to justify first picking. 4 mana, 3/3, Bushido 1, which means if it gets blocked, it gets ++1. And when it attacks, it gets ++1. So it's a 4 mana 5/5.
Okay, that's...
So I took Nagao.
Okay.
I wheeled Reverse the Sands. And at that point, I'm like, am I wrong about this card? Or is everyone else wrong? And...
But you took it.
The children must be wrong. They're the children who are out of touch. I took Reverse the Sands. And in my first round, I play against this Italian guy. And I'm in a position... So the reason Reverse the Sands is great is... What you do is you end up turn mana burn down to 1. Like, you don't attack them if you have
mana burn.
They keep attacking you. They don't know this is going to happen. End of turn, you mana burn down to 1. You Reverse the Sands. Now you're at 20. They're at 1, and you attack and kill them.
Oh, that's insane.
I didn't have Reverse the Sands. So end of his turn, I mana burn down to 1, hoping to draw it. I didn't draw it, and I conceded. And he's like, why did you mana burn down to 1? And I was just like, oh, I knew I was dead anyway. I was just messing around.
What's the rarity on that?
It's a rare.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Game 3, I had Reverse the Sands. End of turn, mana burn down to 1, untap, Reverse the Sands, kill him.
Oh my God.
And he's just like looking at the board like, what happened?
That's insane.
And his friend was a judge who was watching. And as I'm walking away, the judge was like, of course he had Reverse the Sands. Like, how could you not have told, like, game 1, that's why he did that. How did you not think about that card? Because he could have played around it by leaving blockers back.
Oh my God. That's insane.
So I end up 2-0. I'm playing against Tommy Wallamies. He had some top 8s at this point. He's now a professional comedian, actually. And we're in a position where he offers the draw. If I take the draw, I'll get 8th or 9th, and he'll get 8th or 9th. but he's more likely to.
Okay,
He
so
has
you're
slightly
flipping a
better
bad
breakers.
coin. Okay.
Yeah, where I think he was 80% and I was 20% or something along those lines. That's an approximation. Or I could play for it. I played for it.
You played for it? That is awesome, man. You're 19. You don't have any money. Like
I didn't want to get ninth and wish I played for it. I would rather lose and not do it.
Dude, I'm proud of you for making that choice.
Yeah. Oh, unfortunately, I lost. So,
But that match
was really good. I'll send you the link. It was a text coverage match. It was my first feature match.
Who covered it? BDM?
Ted Knudsen.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we have this match where at various points, both of us think I can't win, and then both of us think I can't lose. We both have these swings. I end up getting decked when he casts on his upkeep with no cards in his deck. He casts an instant, then casts Hinder, which counter a target spell put on top or bottom of its owner's library.
He put on his own thing.
Yes. That's how he won. So my brother was watching the match. I lost playing for top 8.
Oh my God, what a story.
Yeah, ended up 14th, won like $4,000, went home and bought a set of Beta Power 9 with that money.
Oh man, the life of 19-year-old Luis is pretty good.
A longer sign off than normal, but that was my PT London experience. It was really impactful. It made me want to keep coming back, and I guess I did.
Okay, well I hope you're playing for top 8 tomorrow or Sunday.
I won't be drawing. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.